Hello, friends, and welcome to your midweek slice of the Kings of Anglia Ipswich Town podcast. Here we are again. I'm your host, Mark Heath, with Andy Warren, a mini pod, a pod light today. And Andy, I say here we are again because here we are again. Ipswich Town have exited a cup competition at the very first hurdle to a lower league side, which would be normally reason to be sad. And I got up this morning feeling pretty down about things. Not only that, but Stuart's away, Mike's away. I'm missing them. You're off tomorrow, which means there's a real danger I might have to do some work tomorrow, which is never good. But then, friend, I was invigorated by sexy stuff this morning. Obviously, we knew about Richard Keogh signing yesterday.
I don't want to know, mate.
I was, yeah. No, let's not go there. Anyway, yeah. So Richard Keogh, we knew was signing yesterday, and I've got to say, I wasn't particularly excited about it, given he's quite a veteran defender, certainly not one that would pass the Ross Hall's test in terms of signings. But then I watched his interview this morning, and I was uplifted by it, my friend, because it was an incredibly positive and impressive interview from someone coming to the club. So obviously, at some point, we are going to have to mention the fact they lost to Colchester last night. But let's try and stave that off for a little while and talk about Town making their 7th signing of the summer. Veteran defender, it has to be said. 36 tomorrow, Thursday. Richard Keogh, Andy Warren. What do you make of this one?
I'm glad he's turned you towards him with his 6-minute club interview. Yeah, on the face of it, a bit of a surprising one when you first hear about it. It's not a position Ipswich are in need of bodies in particularly. But then the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. This is a man who's played nearly 700 games in his career. Only Albert Adoma has played more matches in the history of the Championship than him. So he brings vast experience, but not only that, he brings recent experience too. He's played 75 matches in the last 2 seasons. This isn't a kind of a bit part veteran who's dipping in and out of games. Sure, he picks up knocks a little bit easier now than he would have done during a career that's been extremely durable. But he's playing games. He's not going to be needed to play 40 games for Ipswich this season, I wouldn't have thought. But he's a really high level performer. So I think the deal they've managed to get him on is a bit of a no-brainer, really. And listening to the thinking over it explained kind of makes an awful lot of sense.
Do you want to explain the thinking? Because you spoke to Kieran, obviously, last night before it was official, but he did give a bit of insight into the thinking. Because I guess that would be the thing that people were saying yesterday is, well, why? Why do we need someone like Richard Keogh? And if that's going to mean Corian Darby goes out on loan again, not too sure about that. But McKenna kind of explained that a little bit, didn't he, last night?
Yeah. So I think it's an acknowledgement of how young that area of the pitch is for Ipswich. We know that Wolfenden and Edmondson are really high potential players who we've got great hopes for what they might do in the years to come, hopefully together. But they're not vastly experienced. And having looked around teams that win promotion from this division, Kieran, McKenna, Mark Ashton have found that more often than not, you'll find a player of significant experience in the defensive unit. Then when you look up and down the Ipswich Town team, I put it to Kieran that Shawnee Aluko would be a good example of the benefits that someone of that experience can bring, and he agreed with that. He obviously is a really good role model for the attacking players. The midfield players, he says look after themselves with Morsey, Evans, and Ball, 3 really experienced players themselves. They don't need a mentor in there. They can do that themselves. But the defence really did. So in my mind, it looks almost like kind of a finishing school for Luke Wolfenden and George Edmondson, which can only be a good thing. He will play games, though. I'm sure of that. This isn't just a behind the scenes mentoring job for him here. I feel sure he's going to play plenty of football.
Yeah, a brief apology before we move on. Benson's in the room. He's snoring. That's in no way a reflection on the entertainment levels of the pod so far. I hope you'll agree, or what Hutchie's saying. It's just that he's a bulldog, and that's what they do. And also, before we move on, Hutchie, you mentioned there Shawnee. I believe we've had confirmation in that interview that Keogh provided this morning, which is another highlight for me. It is indeed Shawnee. Referencing players that he knows, players he's played against, he says Sammy and Shawnee. So I think we may have as close to.
I told you this months ago.
Definitive.
Why have you needed to wait till the 10th of August and Richard Keogh to pop up? And
because I thought the last time we chatted about this, you said we were going to get it straight from Shawnee's mouth.
I haven't seen him since.
We were waiting for that. So I believe that's as close as we're going to get until we speak to Shawnee. That is indeed the way Aluko's name is pronounced. So I think we should probably move towards that. Evolve. Use the terminology Serena Williams used yesterday. Evolve towards that a name going forward. The thing I liked about the interview, Andy Keogh, because as I say, when you first said that was happening yesterday, my first reaction was, why? He's old, and I couldn't really see a place for him. But having watched the interview, it's turned me completely around. There's a really nice kind of coming home element to it. He started out at Ipswich Town as a youngster. He was a ball boy at Portman Road. His family are all from Essex. His dad was granddad was a massive Ipswich Town fan. That's a big part of his the reason that he plays football. And B, because he was really kind of realistic and open about what he's here to do. It wasn't like he's here to play every game and be a star, as it were. He's very much saying, look, when I'm off the pitch, I'm here to drive standards and to help develop these great young centre backs that are here. So he's come here with no doubt as to what his role is going to be. Clearly very experienced, a leader in the way he speaks, and you can never really have too many of those, as long as they're the right sort of leader, alongside the likes of Morsey. So yeah, I think overall, I can see it being a really good, sensible. It's not super exciting or super sexy, is it? It's not a new striker, let's be honest, but it's just a sensible move, Andy, and sometimes that's a good thing.
I can tell you are sold.
Yeah.
Has he got a nickname?
No, we don't do nicknames anymore because for reasons we'll come on to in short order.
Yes,
we get on
the nightmare. We'll get on to that. I think he's a good football fit as well. Like, not all 36-year-old centre backs are just true kind of battering ram warrior centre backs. He can do that, but he's always been really comfortable on the ball as well. He can play either side in a back line, and is to an extent versatile. So this isn't just kind of the man to put on to kick people, which sometimes you might look at the 36-year-old and think that's what their job's going to be. He's more than that. He always has been. So yeah, I think I think it's a really good signing, and I think what I like is it's a good example of what the club are able to do and what they're thinking about now. I don't know if in years past Ipswich would be financially able to carry players to kind of mentor others. Yes, obviously teams look to add experience and things like that, but in years past and at most other clubs up and down the leagues, this would have been you have to get someone out if you want to bring someone in kind of job. Obviously, Corey and Darby's going to go out on loan. That's slightly different, but Ipswich are in a position to do it, and they're thinking about doing these things as well. It's both planning for the future and positively benefiting in the short term as well. So it'll prove to be a good one. I think it's worth mentioning as well that obviously we know everything that happened at Derby previously, but he's been at three clubs since MK Dons, Huddersfield, and Blackpool, and I think every single time he's surpassed expectations. He's always been at each of those clubs. He's turned up as veteran Richard Keogh, who obviously earlier on there were reasons why his signing for the clubs was quite notable. But each time I think he's kind of left with supporters thinking, actually, he did a really good job for us.
Yeah.
And certainly his managers in that time couldn't have spoken any more highly of him. So this isn't a guy who's here to just see out his days. He's been playing a lot of football. I think he could play a fair amount here as well.
What I will say about the Derby thing, I mean, obviously that will get mentioned in reference to his name. But there's a really good interview out there, which he did with The Guardian, if you've not read it, about that time in his life, that exit from Derby, how he was treated by the club and how that affected him, because he obviously seriously injured as well in that incident, and having to kind of come back from that. It's a really, really good read. So if you've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just Google Richard Keogh Guardian interview, and have a read of that. If you've got any concerns at all, kind of about the Derby incident, which I don't really want to dive too much into because it's a long time ago now. A lot of feedback from the KOA Army. I put out a feeler this morning just asking for thoughts. I thought it might be quite mixed, Andy. I'm not going to lie, but it's been pretty much, I would say, 99% positive. Just read out a couple. Simon Bennett says, very well thought of signing. It's got Tony Mowbray written all over it. His experience will be so valuable on and off the pitch to those young ones, like Wolfie. Great work by all involved. Another one here. Where are we? It was a good one. It was by Neil Sharp. Fantastic signing, given his experience in the defence and his leadership qualities. Plus, he's been there and done it. And there was actually, I'm sure I can find it now. There's actually a Blackpool fan in here as well that said you've got a really solid, good quality player there. So overwhelmingly, I think it's been treated positively.
Yeah. I think the Tony Mowbray one is one. The comparison there, that's one that instantly sprung to mind for me. Mowbray was a bit younger when he turned up at Ipswich in '95 from Celtic, but he brought some experience and a calm head then. But in '99, he basically came out of retirement at 36 to kind of solidify a defence that needed that kind of treatment. He wasn't supposed to be playing, but he ended up playing pretty much the whole season, and we all know what happened at the end of that season with promotion at Wembley. So that's a good that did spring to mind immediately with me, actually, that's a fairly good comparison from the fairly recent past at Ipswich Town. It used to be the fairly recent past. It's not really anymore, is it? It's a quarter of a decade ago.
Quarter of a century?
Yeah, that's it. Quarter of a century. Quarter of a century.
God damn, I'm old, Hutchie. A few more before we move on. Daryl Hood says it's a sensible signing, not going to set the world alight, but it just makes sense. Experienced campaigner, blood and guts defender, and experience to bring the likes of Edmondson and Wolfie onto the next level. Not sure what's not to like. Tony Rand, whatever the reasons, it's important to realise that every so often you need a bit of been there and done it. Whether that's on or off the pitch, it'd be good to have around. Like the move a lot. # Grizzly. Got to say, the old silver beard does make him add an extra edge, I reckon, to the signing for me, Hutchie. I don't know if he sign up to our sponsor. Daniel O'Reilly, smart business, adds strength to the already fairly strong defence. But we do need a striker, otherwise I feel we'll fall short of the playoffs. And just finally, Steve Mellon, our old friend Steve Mellon, was playing for a championship club and their fans seem gutted he's left. What's not to like? So a few thoughts there, as I say, pretty much overwhelmingly positive. Any other thing to mention on this signing, Hutchie, before we have to unfortunately talk about Cole U?
Just thinking aloud about where and when he might play is interesting. Ipswich to me at the moment seem caught between playing with the kind of the back three hybrid system that we've seen for much of McKenna's time in charge and a true flat back four. I think it was more of a back four at times last night. So be interesting to see where he fits in, because you'd think that in a back four, the starting centre-back pairing would probably be Wolfenden and Edmondson, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where he fits in, because if it switches to a back three, is there a possibility that the scenario we've previously discussed with Donatian sliding out of the team comes to pass, with Keogh in the middle and Wolfenden switching a little bit? It's not impossible. I'll be interested to see. I honestly don't know where he's going to slip into this, but he can play left, he can play right, he's comfortable on the ball, so I feel sure that he will get games at some point.
It also feels like a first step towards a transition into coaching, doesn't it, for him? Whether that'll be at Town or not, I don't know, but yeah, sensible move all round, I think, would be the way to describe that one. Right then, I suppose it's not sensible, Hutchie, but we have to talk about it. Town went out of the Carabao Cup at the first hurdle again last night. They absolutely dominated the game. Raheem the Dream gifted the user goal. I mean, on that note, obviously people are slamming him it's not his fault. He's almost too much a visionary, Hutchie. It's not his fault the players around him can't see the openings that he sees. No one would have expected him to pass it straight across his own box there to the KOA player. But hey,
Mark Heath, come on. I've got a question. When does this stop?
Well, it stops when he leaves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it then, Hutchie. Come on, let's get into it. Obviously, they lost. It's pretty depressing that they keep going out of the cup at this time against lower league opposition again. After a fairly positive start to the season, it feels like it's just brought a halt to that momentum. You were there on your own because Stewie and Mike can't be bothered to cover things. So what did you make of it?
The game's a pretty simple story to tell. Everyone will have seen that the mistake now it's a big mistake, extremely sloppy. And it meant that a Colchester team that had been on the back foot for the first half an hour to an Ipswich team that dominated to the ball, 78 possession across the night. But that goal meant that Colchester had something to hang on to and something to defend, and they dropped that bit deeper after that. They didn't allow Jackson to wriggle in behind. They didn't allow John Jules to get in behind, and Ipswich couldn't break them down. They dominated from that point on, but Sam Hornby in the Colchester goal, if we're being brutally honest, wasn't overly tested. And in terms of the game itself, it's a pretty simple story, really, that we've seen before. We will probably see again. Very frustrating.
There is obviously bigger fish to fry this season, Andy, but we feel like we have this conversation all the time about the impact on momentum and stuff. And clearly there was a lot of changes made. How did you feel about that? There were 10 changes, weren't there? Last night to decide.
Yeah,
you seem fairly sanguine about that.
No, it's just what we spoke. Mike and I spoke about this on both in the car on the way home on Saturday and on the podcast on Monday, and look, we have our people have their thoughts on it, but this is the way it is. I can't kind of begin to get really angry about it. Maybe that's the old Ipswich Town apathy coming, like, wafting back over again that we've spoken about for so many years. But like, it probably isn't the way that I would, if I was a football manager, the way that I would use that cup game. It probably isn't. I don't don't know about sports science to the level anywhere close to the level that the guys in charge do. I don't see the data, but it wouldn't. I would have liked to have seen some of the players kind of play their way into some really good form last night, but I can't sit here and be angry about it, because we all knew that the changes were coming. So it is what it is in that respect. But I don't think you're ever going to see a completely changed team like that that's never played together as an 11 before and probably never will do again. They're not going to come in and just click and be fluid. It's just not going to happen. So maybe it's just that apathy, isn't it? It is what it is.
It is what it is, and clearly it was an opportunity for players to play their way into McKenna's thinking, grab the opportunity with both hands. Andy, would I be fair in assessing that not really any of them did?
Nope. I don't think so, really. We didn't. I don't think we learned an awful lot new about a lot of the players last night. There was some good some decent performances in there. I think Cameron Humphreys missed some chances he would really want to be at least hitting the target with and probably scoring. But saying that, he was really, really positive young player who, for that first half an hour, was kind of at the heart of everything, popping up on the edge of the box, inside the box, in some really good positions, good on the ball, used it well. Some things to work on. He got dispossessed a few times when he maybe should have used it a bit quicker, but he's young and he's still learning. So if there was positives to take, he would be one of them. I quite enjoyed watching Luke Wolfenden battle away with Frank Noble. It was an interesting battle. Wolfenden gave as good as he got. He swept up and covered a few times, and I'm sure he'll be back in the team on Saturday after missing Forest Green due to illness. Shawnee Aluko was the player that we know he is. learn anything new about him. He didn't play badly, I didn't think, but we didn't learn anything new about him. And sadly, Jackson and John Jules, kind of the hit squad from the bench, who have been sort of so effective in those first 2 league games, couldn't do it together from the start of the game. Kyle Edwards was a bit frustrating. He wants to make it happen. The effort's there, the endeavour is there. He wants to tease a fullback. He tries something positive every time, but it didn't always come off, and the delivery wasn't there. Same with Kane Vincent-Young. Greg Lee was solid. I don't think we learnt anything new about Greg Lee, because we knew that. We knew that about him. Knew that about him already. So I think we can fully expect a team including the usual faces to return for the game at the weekend.
And speaking about usual faces, obviously there's some old faces, or old dogs, as Roscoe called them quite disrespectfully on Monday's podcast. Chambers et al. Coming back to Portman Road in front of a crowd. What kind of reception did those boys go, and how did they perform?
They got really good reception during the warm up. A nice round of applause, a big cheer for both of them, both Cole Skews and Luke Chambers, when their names were read out before kick-off. Cole got a really good reception when he was substituted, and then after going to celebrate with the Colchester fans, and he looked like he really enjoyed winning a cup game, because it's not something he'd be overly used to, but he enjoyed the celebrations with his own supporters. Now Luke Chambers then went round 3 sides of the ground with Ipswich fans in, and got a good reception from them on the way off the pitch as well. I thought they both did okay. Cole Skews did Cole Skews things. Luke Chambers, I thought, had a pretty good game, actually. He won some, with the score at 0-0, he was winning some really good headers inside the box. And then once Colchester were ahead, like I said, they all dropped a bit deeper, looked after Jackson and John Jules fairly well, and defended well from that point on. So I think he'll be, both of them will go away especially pleased with their performance, and to get a win at Portman Road, as would Wayne Brown, who's obviously also a former Ipswich defender, now Colchester manager. I think that would have meant an awful lot to him and to his club as well.
Okay, should we move on, Andy? Any other notes from that game?
No other notes from the game. Same time next year.
Yeah. Before we do move on, can I just say, on the general note of rotation and changing teams and stuff, yes, it does kind of annoy me that many changes are made, and changing a winning team and stuff, and there's arguments either way, isn't there? But can we stop using teams of yesteryear as an example of why you should never change a team? Yes, talking 40, 50 years ago, yes, players played like 1 million games and there are only 16 players in a squad, but to compare that to now, to me, it's just nonsensical, and it doesn't help the conversation, because you cannot compare those two eras. Technically, yes, those players would be great whatever area they played, but it was a completely different sport back then, in terms of fitness, in terms of sports science, in terms of nutrition. The players now, the levels of athleticism, the levels of training they do, are just light years ahead of that point. So for me, it's not really helpful to say, well, we only had 16 players back then and they all played 1 million games and we're fine, because I just don't think you can compare like for like in that way. Hutchie, am I out of order?
Bang out of order. No, I agree. It's that's not the argument. I don't think it's not. It's not about the 80s, is it? It's about It's about the here and now. There's valid arguments for and against doing it, like based on kind of current factors. But I would say what Mick Mills et al. Did in the 80s probably isn't comparable to where we're at in modern day football.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Modern day football. One more thing I want to mention before we get on to this weekend, Hutchie. A bit of news. I think it was yesterday, actually, wasn't it? The Plymouth kickoff has been moved. Game, in fact, has been put back to Sunday for Sky Sports coverage, which I guess in a way is good. You get to watch Town on Sky. But the kickoff's 12:30, Andy, which to me seems grossly unfair for fans who would be travelling to that game. I mean, Plymouth is a long way away, so you're looking at a ridiculously early start. It just seems to me that the fans are never really considered in things like this, which is frustrating.
Yeah, it has at least happened with a little bit of notice this time. It's still 6 weeks until that game. There wasn't the Rotherham game last season that got switched with
Late on.
less than 2 weeks notice, 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. Yeah, getting to Plymouth for midday on a Sunday is going to involve an incredibly early start or a Saturday night away. But I'd say at least this one has been done before tickets have gone on sale. I think that's probably correct. Like the Rotherham game, people already had tickets for it and were then told that actually it's happening on a different day now. So at least on this occasion, there are people now that can at least buy a ticket, knowing what the deal was and when the game is being played.
Yeah, still seems a bit unfair to me. Anyway, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Right then, Andy, we've got to finish this mini pod, aiming for half an hour or so this week, with looking at MK Dons this weekend and £1 million picks, of course, we have to reflect on, which I've got to say, having listened on Monday, Mike Bacon giving you 9-1 on Tyrese John Jules to both score and assist in a game. I know he said the bookmakers have got to make money, but no one would ever bet with him if those were the odds.
No.
So
that man's a loose cannon, isn't he? He says what he thinks as soon as he thinks it at times, and I humoured him. I probably would have turned that bet down in real life, but
yeah,
I hadn't thought of another one. So
9-1, unbelievable. Anyway, so you put some money on. Are we doing cup games this season as well?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, there we go. So how much money did you lose?
50 grand.
50 grand. Anyway, we're still up, aren't we? Because Morsey bagged last weekend. MK Dons this weekend, Andy. It's obviously, we are literally just hours apart from Town playing last night. So I haven't really had a lot of chance to think about MK Dons this weekend. Obviously, I've signed a player too since then. But MK Dons, on paper, obviously, you'd expect the side to be right up there with Town. They've not started very well, Andy. They've lost both their first 2 league games without scoring. I know they got a win last night in the cup. So on paper, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, them coming to Portman Road, having not won yet and not scored yet.
We'll find out, won't we?
We will.
It doesn't make them not a good team. It's still they have a way of playing. Maybe that's going to take a little bit of time for sort of the slight rebuild they've had to undergo to get up to speed. They're playing the next 2 games for Ipswich are against teams that are winless in the league so far. So in Burton and MK Don. So yes, on paper, a really nice couple of games. But I'd still be delighted if Ipswich came away with 3 points from this one. So we'll see. They've got some good players, and they'll have some good players on the pitch. MK Dons and good players are always capable of producing a good result. So not one to take lightly.
That sounds to me like a Hutchism there. Good players are always capable of producing a good result. It's up there with a win is better than a loss and other notable opines. I mean, obviously one of those players is Louis Barry, Hutchie, who obviously signed on loan for them. I believe he started their last game and came on as a sub in the first game. So he's seeing some action, and he'll be, I mean, obviously they'll all be desperate to impress, but he will have extra ammunition, you'd imagine, coming to Portman Road if he does indeed start or come on the pitch at any point, which you expect he would do.
Yeah. Clearly we didn't see the best of Louis Barry, did we? He's a supremely talented young player. We know that. It's just I don't think it was all set up particularly well for him at that point. He was one of a lot of players in that position. The minutes didn't come, and when they did, it was hard for him in a team that hadn't clicked and wasn't gelling. So MK Don should suit him, but sort of playing for a top end League One club is going to be a big step up for him after what his season actually played out as last season with Swindon. So he might be one that they would need to give time to work. That doesn't mean he's not going to produce some good moments, but There's him and Will Grigg, the attacking threats. Who look, they're both capable, aren't they? But we shall see. I want to see what Ipswich can do rather than any opposition in these games. It's about Ipswich. I know that's a bit of a boring manager cliche, but it is.
Fair enough. And on that note, then, what would you do with the side? Anything, or just revert back to the side that performed at Forest Green? Apart from maybe, would you bring? I assume you bring Wolfie back in for Burgess if he's fit and firing.
I think I probably would. To be honest, just go back to it. Just like for Forest Green, the one I'd be considering would be Aluko for a start. I feel that Aluko probably will start one of these next two games. Who knows which one it will be? I think he might, but there's players that are clearly going to come back into the team, aren't there? Walton, Edmondson, Morsey, Evans, Chaplin will start, I'm sure. Burns, Ladapo. It's I think a revert back to that is almost certain, really.
It's Wednesday. It's not even lunchtime on Wednesday, Andy. Do you have £1 million pick for Saturday? Please say yes.
Yeah, I do. I've got two.
Oh, okay.
Two small ones.
Yeah.
I think Freddie Ladapo is going to score his first Ipswich goal. And I think Sam Morsey will have two chances without scoring.
But how do you qualify chance?
Two chances that people you think
if he has a shot from distance, does that count as a chance?
That's a stupid bet. Let's just go with Ladapo.
Or do you mean you're going to have two chances you'd expect him to score?
Void it, mate. I've screwed it up and thrown it on the floor. It's Wednesday lunchtime. I'll be honest. MK Dons is not on my mind. I've messed up. I've screwed the betting slip up and chucked it in the bin. That was a nonsense bet. And if you're about to bet on nonsense, don't do it because that's a valuable life lesson. So just void it. He's going to score again. Actually, 10 grand on it. Whatever price you give me,
I'll give you 7-1 on Morsey scoring because he scored last weekend. So I'm bringing it down a little bit. Ladapo, I'll give you 9-1 on Ladapo.
Okay.
Which I think is quite generous.
Yeah, it is quite generous.
But he's not scored yet. Not really had a massive amount of chances. So I'll go 7-1 on Morsey and 9-1 on Ladapo, which on the basis of where they play on the pitch is completely nonsensical. But there you go. I feel like I need to do something for you after Bacon's ridiculously short odds on the big cat.
Yeah.
So what we putting on both?
10 on Morsey.
Yeah.
50 on Ladapo. 100 on Ladapo. £100,000.
Returning £1 million if he scores at 9-1.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I really hope he does score, Andy. Because the longer he goes without scoring, the more the narrative around, we still haven't got a striker and that kind of stuff will go on, won't it?
Yep.
And from everything I've seen of him so far, I think he's doing a decent job. Is that?
Yeah. A decent job. Yeah.
We need him to score though, don't we? We need a goal.
Strikers need
to score.
It's not, and I don't think that's just on him either. I think he had a couple of openings against Forest Green. Had one nice shot that was kind of clawed out of the top corner by the Forest Green keeper. But I don't think Ipswich have quite kind of clicked into gear with using him yet. What I liked about him in pre-season was his ability to drift in behind defenders and kind of hold the ball up a little bit and then lay it off and get back into the box. Not done that enough for me in these two, and I think that's a little bit of that's going to be on the attacking players deeper behind him. So the whole unit needs to function well, I think. But a decent enough start. But they need to take their striking to the next
we need
level.
a goal. We need a goal. We're still expecting a striker, I'd imagine, to come in anyway during this window. Are we not? Before it slams shut in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, I would say that's aside from any kind of tinkering and sort of needs arising from players departing, I would say that's probably about it, if I'm honest. But
which would be
we
8.
shall.
We said 6, didn't we? So it's kind of in the ballpark. I don't think anyone expected signing number 7 to be Richard Keogh.
No.
But there you go. It is what it is, as they say in football. Right then, Hutchie. So prediction time. Again, it's ridiculous to ask you before we've even had the press conference, before we really know. We even had time to think about MK Dons, and we're kind of thinking out loud, really. But
arguably before we even care, Mark.
Yeah, I always care. I always care. It's always on to the next one. So give me a prediction, which is absolute nonsense in terms of the time period. But just throw something out there so people can latch onto it.
Just as an aside, the two mascots at the game, a couple of the mascots at the game last night predicted 8-0 and 9-0 wins for Ipswich, which I really enjoyed. So in that vein, I think Ipswich will win 2-0 against
2-0.
Milton Keynes Dons.
Okay, I'm gonna. I always like to predict a win, but I feel like it might be a draw. This one, I'm gonna say 1-1 because I think after MK Don's start they've had, there's a danger that we might go into this thinking, well, Town will win this, but I think they're a decent side, and they'll be desperate to get on the board. So I'm saying 1-1, and I like Liam Manning as well. An excellent young coach. A lot of good young coaches in League One, aren't there, Andy? As an aside,
Liam Manning, a former Ipswich Town youth teammate of Richard Keogh.
There we go. There's hashtag narrative all over the place in this game, isn't there? Before we sign off, Hutchie, a few people were disappointed last week that I didn't go with the "What shirt is behind your shoulder" game, so I'll put that right.
That's why I've put the same one there. That's why.
Oh, is it? It looks to me like it's Denmark, isn't it?
No.
What is that? Is that a dragon?
It is a dragon.
So for those just listening audio wise, it's red, white sleeves, and there's a big green, it looks like dragon on the kind of body of the shirt. That looks like something that Conor McGregor would wear on a night out, mate.
I don't know if it's a dragon or a phoenix or a griffin, maybe.
Oh, a griffin. Okay.
Don't know if it's a griffin.
Do you
want to see the back of the shirt?
Is there more griffins on the back?
No.
Nakata. Again, no use to me really.
This is a classic. This is a classic, and I've paid too much money for this.
Okay, put me out of my misery. Who is it? What is it? Perugia. Very nice indeed. What kind of era are we talking there then? You say it's a classic.
98, 99.
Nice. And when you say you've paid too much money, what kind of coin have you expended?
Undisclosed fee, I'm afraid.
In case Mrs. Warren's listening.
Yeah. Yeah, she absolutely isn't listening because she has never once listened to a single minute of this podcast or read a single word that I've ever written about football, apart from kit rankings. She loves them.
Your opus.
Yeah.
So again, you've expended some serious coin on that, and it will sit on the rail for a while, will it, before you put it in a box or something? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Might sell it one day. I enjoy it.
Money well spent. I've got to say as well before we move on that the kit rankings, Andy, I know they took you 6 weeks to put together. I'm not sure people fully appreciate just how much work would have gone into that. And also, before we end this podcast, you've got a Bluetooth shower. Why haven't we talked about this before? How, what, why do you need a Bluetooth shower? Is this so you can turn it on with your phone? But obviously, you're not
what I like here, Mark. That means you've read them. You haven't just gone through and looked at the pictures. You've actually read the rankings, which
of course not, friend.
There's 5,000 words there.
I would do you a gross disservice if I wasn't reading your work, wouldn't I? As someone who is in the content team with you, clearly I'm going to be reading your work, and I enjoyed it. But the thing that I took away mostly was the Bluetooth shower, because you can turn your shower on when you're sitting there. I'm assuming.
I can turn it on now. You might be able to hear it in the back. Should I turn it on now and see if you can hear it?
Yeah.
This is great audio.
Great.
That's not going to work, is it? The screen, you can't see that. No,
Is
you
it
probably
on?
can't.
I can see a blue circle.
Yeah, you can't hear it, can you?
It's not powerful enough, obviously. Can
No,
you ramp up the power
it
on
is.
there as well?
No, I can't do power. I can do temperatures for you. I can set it for a duration until it turns off.
But here's my question, right? So you can sit there and turn it on, which I'd admit there is some mileage in terms of practical joke kind of style. You can turn it on while Mrs. Warren is in there unsuspecting, or turn it off when she's in there. But when you're in the shower, you're not going to have your phone with you, and your control panel's right next to you. So what's the benefit of a Bluetooth shower, Andy?
Once this podcast is finished,
Yeah,
I might want a shower. Do I
right.
want to stand there and wait for it to warm up? No.
Okay.
I want to press the button right now, and by the
Yeah.
time I reach the shower, it will be hot, perfectly up to temperature, the temperature that I have set.
Okay.
My phone, and I jump straight in.
So
Naked.
it's well, yeah, obviously, I'd hope. So it's literally that kind of minute of faff that normally you have to have with a shower. It's not even really a minute, is it? It's normally about 20 seconds, 15, 10 seconds.
Mm.
That was worth you investing in a Bluetooth shower.
Yep.
Fair
It
enough.
does monitor your water use as well.
Okay.
That the kind of the app that all comes as part of it. I like it. It is really, it comes into its own in the winter when
Right.
when it's cold in the morning. You don't want to kind of get in, because you know, like some showers, and ours is one of them. You have to actually get in it to press the button,
Right.
and then the cold water comes. That is
You
not what
can't
you
you
want.
can't lean in and press the button and then pull the thing back across while it warms up.
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
And I shouldn't have to.
You want to be able to turn your shower on while you're still lying in bed. Literally just fling the covers off and just walk straight into the shower like a boss. That's basically what you're after.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it meant that I had something to write about Cheltenham's horribly average football kit. That actually they're sponsored by Mira, who make the shower.
Yeah.
But their kit was rubbish. I had nothing to say about it. There's too many red football kits. They're all boring. It was the same as Lincoln's. So talk
There we
about the
go.
shower.
It's my main takeaway from the piece, mate, and it made me feel like I got to know you a little bit better. I too have a Mira shower. It's not Bluetooth. Well, exactly. They are good showers, but I think it gives a little bit more insight into the way the Hutchman's brain works. Right then, friends, we're coming to the end of the podcast now. Anything else to mention, Andy? You've been watching, by the way. I've been enjoying the new Arsenal All or Nothing on Amazon Prime. You've been watching that?
I started watching it last night while I was writing about Ipswich Colchester until 2:11 a.m. I watched 3 episodes.
That's all you can watch.
Is that all? Is that all that's available so far?
I think there's only 3 so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Aaron Ramsdale's dad. He seems
with
like
his hat.
an interesting character with his little hat. I
Yeah.
think he likes a beer at games.
Yeah.
And I wonder how long a lifespan football managers coming up with those interesting pre-match team talks kind of have, because you can't do that forever. Why has the background just changed? That's weird.
I don't know. That is odd.
That's unusual. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I do wonder how long that can go on, because I quite like them. Interesting move to get the club photographer to do a pre-match team talk ahead of a game.
I bloody love you.
Yeah. Oh, love the Arsenal. Go on. I wish Arsenal fans wouldn't call their club the Arsenal.
Yeah.
I don't know. That irritates me.
I've got to say though, on early watching, as you say, there's only 3 episodes to watch so far. I think I'm enjoying it more than the previous ones with English clubs.
Yeah.
I think because you've got 3 quite compelling young English guys involved. You've got Ramsdale, you've got Smith Rowe and Bukayo Saka, who are all really kind of compelling players with good backstories. And they're also getting families involved, kind of connecting to the why. And Arteta's quite a compelling guy as well, isn't he? As you say, with these kind of convoluted speeches, and you feel like he really kind of feels it when he's saying it.
What was it he drew on that board? Was it a picture of a heart? He drew a picture of
a heart and then a brain. There's a heart on legs and a brain on legs. And it got, particularly when he was talking about one of them, it got progressively smaller, didn't it? and even on TV, you couldn't really see it. So I'm not sure what the players were thinking in there.
Mm.
And I also enjoyed Granit Xhaka's car. Everyone else is rocking up in like gold Bentleys, and he's got this kind of tiny little smart car. Remember that? You've seen that? Fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
You know,
not your
Lewis
average
Hamilton
polish.
drives a smart car.
Of course, he
kind
does.
of in real life.
Does he? I also heard a story about Lewis Hamilton that all his like jewelry, Rolexes, etc., are fake, because he figures that no one would think that he'd be wearing fake jewelry, and therefore he saves money by getting like the fake ones, and everyone, because he's Lewis Hamilton, just assumes they're real. So there you go.
Who on earth has told you that?
I heard it.
Is that there was a bloke down the pub?
No.
And he was saying
no, I heard this on the radio. It was someone.
Was it a BBC station?
It was
one
a
of these
BBC
awful
station.
commercial
No.
ones?
It's proper, mate. Proper BBC. Someone who'd just been interviewing Lewis Hamilton. As an aside, he threw it out there, and I thought, you know what? That's interesting, and also it makes sense.
Yeah, I love that.
So there you go. So if you are ever in a room with Lewis Hamilton and he's wearing some jewelry, grab him firmly by the wrist and examine said Rolex. I wouldn't have any idea what a fake Rolex looked like and how to identify one. And you would assume that it would be real, would you not? With a star of his.
He must. The one question I have about that, he must at some point have had an endorsement deal with like Tag or Rolex.
Oh yeah,
at some point.
Yeah.
So he is going to own these watches.
Yeah.
Because he quite famously makes sure he put. I think it's Tag is what he worked with. Like after races, he goes and the first thing he does, he's got his kind of personal assistant who comes and gives him his watch that he puts on. And some people got a little bit tricked and thought that he drives with one on, but they're actually printed onto his driving gloves. He's got a watch on there.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, so people think he's driving in a Rolex or a Tag or whatever. But I'm not into watches. But if Lewis Hamilton's wearing fakes, it's good enough for me. And I love that you've brought this gossip to us.
I think it's real knowledge. I'll bless you with some real knowledge. We're all about edutainment here. There's been a few Hutchisms in here. We talked about Lewis Hamilton wearing fake jewellery and various other things as well. Right then, Andy, we've hit 45 minutes. We should probably take our leave because we've got things to do today. Any other business? I think we've covered quite a lot.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah.
This probably isn't one for the podcast, but I've started now.
Yeah.
Do you think I should do the away kit rankings?
All 92?
Oh yeah, anything else would be like a backward step now.
I feel like that's something I'd very much like to read, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to read. It's got an incredible amount of page views, so clearly content that the audience want, Andy. But my concern really is how it affects you on a personal level, because writing that many words, sourcing that many pictures, first of all, putting them in the story in order, then kind of proofreading it all. Unless you kind of worked in journalism, I suppose if you've done like a dissertation or anything like that, writing a lot of words and then reading them back is pretty grueling. And then when you throw all those pictures into the mix as well, a recipe for disaster and headache. So if you feel that you can take that on, Andy, the people certainly want it. So I would say yes.
I will take your feedback on board.
Okay. But I do think in future you may be wiser to restrict it to just the league that Town are in for personal well-being going forward.
That feels like going backwards. I don't like going backwards. Arguably, the best way to not go backwards is to never go forwards, and then there's nowhere to go backwards.
Just stand still, be static.
Life advice: just stand still. Don't push yourself. Don't show ambition. I'll do them. It's going to take weeks though.
That's all right. There's no rush.
Pop up.
Could we get them up for Christmas? Maybe little Christmas present for the KOA Army and our readers.
Yeah, we could do. I'll commit to doing them before Christmas. What I won't commit to doing is any kind of third kit rankings, because they're impossible. Because teams always have third kits that you can't even find. And then, well, actually, Plymouth had their centenary yellow third kit that you've not ranked. I'd have had that third. Like, get a grip.
We're digressing big time here, Hutchie. But now we're talking about kits. I need to know. I've got to ask you, what's your all-time favourite kit? Tell me now.
My all-time favourite kit.
Yeah, you must have one that shines above all
Yeah,
others.
I've got them. I've got them both. Do you
Yeah,
want to see them?
I do.
These are the two kits that got me into
kits.
Football kits that made
Yeah.
me realise that fun, exciting football kits exist. Let me get them.
Let's do it. We stopped talking about Ipswich Town about 15 minutes ago. Well,
Yeah.
I'm here for it. We're digressing big time.
We're
But
here now.
This is what the people want. We've got to
Let me
this
get
point.
them.
Let's see these two kits.
And I've recently managed to get them, both of them. So I'll be back.
Okay. For those of you just listening, Hutchie's removed his earplugs. He's wearing some very fetching pair of pink Town shorts, not like the goalkeeper's kit, perhaps. And he has retrieved these two kits. I think you've muted yourself, Andy. There we go. Before you
on mute.
Before you show that, I've got a past comment on the rather fetching pink Town shorts you're wearing as well.
Yeah. They're really comfortable.
Is that the goalkeeper shorts?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right then.
Very, very comfortable.
These are Andy Warren's two favourite kits of all time. For these of you just listening, I will try and describe them audibly, but whack them up for the viewers.
I'm
going
to
do one.
No, they're going up together because they're
Okay.
a pair. They're a pair. They're a duo. They're Watson and Warren. I think you've seen one of these before.
They're your all-time favourite kits.
Yeah, they're Germany kits.
I mean, they are.
But
I've got the white one is an all-time classic. You cannot take that away. I'm not sure about the green one.
That is my one.
That's your favourite.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through why you love them so much?
Yeah. Basically, young Andy.
Yeah.
Kind of obviously knew about football from a young age.
Yeah.
But the '94 World Cup in the United States was a big one for me.
Yeah.
Because not only was it on the TV a lot, watched it, but also I don't know if it was it was probably one of the really early FIFA games. Like the first one of those. I think a family friend had it and used to play it every time we went round there.
Is it like FIFA? Was it FIFA '94 where you could score every time by shooting diagonally?
Yeah, my little trick was you could, if you run down the left wing and cross exactly 3 strides inside the edge of the penalty area, there would always be a player there to just head it in every single time. But you could
also stand in front of the keeper, couldn't you, and just block the shot.
And you could run away from the referee when he was trying to book you.
Yeah,
that was fun. But you could pick what kit your team wore and things like that. And then I saw these, and I thought, wow, football kits exist. And yes, they're Germany kits, but I absolutely love them.
They are beauties. It's an all-time classic. So that's the 1994 Germany home and away kit, essentially.
Yeah, it screams Klinsmann.
It does. Yeah, and what a player he was. So there we go. We've answered the question. Andy Warren's favourite football kits of all time. I feel like we've added quite a lot of value onto the end of this podcast, Hutchie. After stopping talking about Town, we've done a good 20 minutes or so now of pretty much solid kit/football chat. So there you go. And with them being your two favourite football kits of all time, how long did it take you to get hold of them? And please tell me they do something other than just sit on the hanger.
No, they're on the hanger. They're hanger. They're now on the floor. Disrespectful, but it took me quite a long time to get. I've got hold of them both quite recently for undisclosed fees. There's a lot of fake ones of them around, so sourcing a couple of genuine ones has taken a very, very long time. But I'm delighted to have got it over the line, Mark.
I think with you and kits is like Lewis Hamilton with jewelry, though. If someone sees you wearing a kit, they're going to assume it's real because you're the kit man. So save yourself some money, mate, and get some knockoffs.
I am learning. I've been caught out by some knockoffs, but I'm learning now. I can tell.
This is a whole extra pod in itself, Andy, because now I want to know how you identify fake kits.
How long have you got? Should
we just keep rolling? Tell me.
each brand each brand is different. It's very easy to do with the more modern ones, because they all have product codes inside, and people who fake them can't fake a product code because they don't know it. And if you find your product code and put it into either Google will do it for you, or some of the manufacturers have their own authenticity portals. Kappa, particularly good for that. And you can verify them really quite easily. I won't bore you with the details of how to spot a terribly faked Adidas badge, because there are some woeful ones, but there's some real good signs of being able to tell a fake Adidas badge. Quite difficult to do with these older kits. They don't have they don't have like the codes and stuff, but you can match up. There's a lot of things you can match up, material, things like things I can't tell if you're interested or just hugely bored.
Of course I'm interested, old friend. This is passion. As I say, passion is what you want in life. In every walk of life, you want passion. And listen to anyone speak about their passion, you can't help to be absorbed by it, as far as I'm concerned. And a lot of people are interested in this stuff.
What a nerdy passion.
Absolutely not, my friend.
It even goes down to like checking the washing labels and stuff. Like washing instructions were different in the 90s. Like, I know that sounds really dumb. And finding people that are trusted kind of sellers as well is obviously a really, really good thing. And these two were both from very trusted sellers, as was that Perugia shirt. So
this is a pod almost on its own merits, Andy. Maybe like a journey through your kit collection. I think people would be interested in that, and on a visual tip. Anyway, we must bring this to an end. I felt like we're winding up at about half an hour. We're now approaching the hour mark. We've done solid 20 minutes of pretty much non-Ipswich Town related stuff. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, friends. You feel like you've got value added in this particular pod. Right, there really is nothing else to mention now, is there, Andy? Anything else you want to
Well, Mark, no, just a brief apology for not being able to talk about MK Dons with enough passion. It's too early in the cycle.
Yeah, we're not fully into that match day cycle yet, are we, Andy? We're in the middle. That's the problem.
Yeah,
we've come straight from one game.
We've got things to do this afternoon. That will begin. Well, I'm off tomorrow, but I'll spend the day getting pumped for MK Dons. That's what I'll probably do tomorrow. So
absolutely, and I'll kick off the match day cycle probably at 7 o'clock.
Don't you worry about that. We will kick off the match day cycle.
We'll be bang up for it. Right then, friends. I hope you enjoyed that last 20 minutes of kit related chat. If not, enjoyed the rest of the pod. Thanks for listening. Please support our sponsor, Manscaped. Use the code KOA at manscaped.com for 20% off and free delivery. And also follow us across all our social medias, Kings of Anglia on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And also please consider leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes, because it helps people find us, listen to us, and join the KOA army. We've talked a lot. We covered a lot of ground today. We started with Richard Keogh, and we ended up with how to identify fake German football kits. That's the kind of range of things that we're going to bring you on Kings of Anglia. If you're going to the game this weekend, have a great one. Enjoy the game. If you're not, follow it with us. Stu, Andy, and Roscoe will all be there. So follow it with them. Have a great weekend, whatever you're doing, and we'll speak to you again next time.